The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Sustainable Lab Canada's first virtual annual general meeting. We appreciate you attending. Wanda, can you advance? This is the agenda that we'd like to propose. Everybody is on mute due to the fact that we're on a webinar, and we're going to be conducting all votes by objection. So if you have an objection to a motion, please put it in the questions field so it can be recorded in our minutes. If you have a question during the webinar, please ensure that you put them in the question field as well, and John Alaberico will read them to us at the time when they're submitted. So as a starting point, I'd like to call for a vote by objection for the adoption of this agenda for this meeting. John, are we good with votes?
Yeah, there's been no objections.
I'm Kevin. It's Kevin here. It appears that we now have quorum with 11 attendees plus the 9 or 10, so that's good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wanda, please advance. So the agenda is adopted. So this year's been an interesting one, as you can imagine, with the introduction of this little guy that's changed everything. Advance, please. So the association spent a great deal of time, effort, and money, to be honest, in preparing for our 2020 conference, which unfortunately had to be canceled as a result of COVID. But the good news is that we have a significant amount of work completed that we're going to leverage for the 2021 conference, which we're hoping to be in Vancouver in alignment with our original plan. The good news is the momentum for the association is growing. We've had a significant uptick in webinar attendance, and we feel the board feels for the most part that's been a result of great work by the PDC, or Professional Development Committee, chaired by Kevin Humanick, and paired that with some really great topics which have helped drive up the attendance. You may remember in our last AGM, we increased the number of board members to 11. We just needed more hands on board to accomplish the mission of the association. And I'm happy to tell you that this year we will have the largest number of board members. We've received more nominations than positions. So we had to make some hard decisions, and you'll be shortly seeing who has been successful in joining. The Montreal chapter has done a great job of moving through the pandemic. They've consistently held events. The Toronto chapter has not. Toronto had to stop because of the implications of COVID. And we're continuing to maintain a strong financial position thanks to the great work of Mike Dzimarski and the Finance Committee. We have incurred some costs and lost some money as a result of the planning for the conference with no revenue source. We continue to maintain a healthy balance. So the continuity of the association is not at risk in any way, shape, or form. And the membership committee continues to do the great work they do in driving membership, evidenced by all the great initiatives that we've accomplished this year. So I'd like to thank Yvonne for the membership, and Kevin Humanick for the PDC, and Mike Dzimarski for the great work on the Finance Committee. Advance, please. So this is the board of directors that will be returning this year. We'd like to thank Erica Brabant from Black & Mack and Mr. Ian McDermott for the great service that they've provided to the association in ensuring our mission is achieved, but they will not be a member of the board moving forward. As a result, we have, as I mentioned earlier, had a number of applicants that have been that were submitted for the board. Were successful: Liam Brown of McAllen Slater Architects and Engineers, Peggy Theodore from Diamond Schmidt, Kevin Orff from University Health Network, and Vladimir Lazov from WSP. We're quite excited by the addition of a bunch of two directors from the private sector, and we're looking for great things from all of these new members. Advance. And it's with great pride that I can now pass off the baton as the president to Yvonne Lachance. Mike will continue in his work as the finance director, and I'll be moving into my role as the past president, which has a tenure for 2 years. If you could advance, please. Now, we get asked a lot of questions about what it's like in having the conversation with somebody about becoming the next president. And so we had this conversation with Yvonne, and you can see here, hey, Yvonne, would you like to be president of SLCan? Of course, he was ecstatic at the opportunity. You're joking, right? He replied. Advance. Okay, let me think about it. The serious Yvonne came forward. Advance. Yvonne, yes, I would love to do it. I'm very honored that you asked. Advance. Oh my God, what did I get into? So thank you very much, Yvonne. Looking forward to working with you to make SLCan even greater than it has been. Advance.
You provided a fun moment for everyone. Thanks, John, for that.
So I'd like to call for a motion to hereby move that the presented slate of directors for Sustainable Labs Canada be approved. Due to webinar, again, the AGM for this vote, the vote for this will be by objection. Again, in the questions field, please. Any questions, John?
No, there's just one. It said, "Congratulations, Yvonne," by Pierre-Luc. So, anyways, but no objections.
So I guess that makes it official. I'm no longer the president. So I wanted to thank everybody, board members and committee members and chairs, for the great work they've done. You know, it would have been a nightmare without you guys. You guys all stepped up to the plate. You all got it done. You made it as pleasurable as it could be to be a president, and I just wanted to thank you from the bottom of my heart. So thank you guys. You guys have done amazing work. If you could advance, please. So at this point, I'd like to turn the, oh, I'm sorry. We have 3 committee reports: the Finance Committee, the Membership and Communications Committee, and then the Professional Development Committee. Advance. So I'll turn the mic over to Mike Dzimarski to report back on the Finance Committee.
Yes, good morning, everyone. So I'll take you through the summary of our finances for the year. This will be up to date to the 1st of December 2020. Next slide, please. So this is the formation of the committee. I serve as chair of the committee, Kevin, and we have to see if Kevin will remain on the committee or if we'll be looking for a new person, Yvonne and Jim Delaney. Next slide, please. So the real purpose of the Finance Committee is basically to keep an eye on the revenues and expenses associated with running our organization. We do provide a detailed monthly update to our board on the health of our organization and a projection of where future liability may be incurred. So major expenses are brought to the board for review and approval. So it's a checks and balances to ensure our board and our organization is on firm footing moving forward. Next slide. Activities for 2020, we prepared a budget with revisions due to COVID impact. You know, we had great plans for the year, but including a conference, but with the COVID virus, we were forced to cancel the national conference. We did receive our deposit recovery, which was a substantial investment, but there were some expenses, and I'll go through those in a minute. Out of the 12 months of the year, we were able to hold 8 monthly meetings with the committee. We certainly did a review of all the expenses and tightened up where we could. Looked at management support, which is a major component of our expenses. And we also look for opportunity to provide alternative services to members, because obviously without a conference, you know, and trying to make sure that members feel they are valued and are getting value out of being a member in SLCan. We did a financial review by our accountants, Parker, Prins, and Labano, and the finances were found to be on firm ground. We did not do a detailed financial review, which is a bit more costly, again, on a cost-cutting method. We just did a review and a tax filing. So our taxes have been filed. Next slide, please. Looking forward, we're certainly going to continue to hold monthly meetings. We find them quite valuable, good opportunities to bounce things off each other. Look for opportunities to improve our financial reporting methods. Carry out review of the management contract we have with Willow and intention of preparing and signing a new contract. That was part of our commitment for 2020, but our priorities changed a bit. We weren't able to accomplish this, but we will certainly look at this again in the coming year. And I'm working on a SOP, a standing operating procedure for electronic checking. We're certainly into electronic checking now. It becomes quite quick to initiate a check electronically through our RBC Express, and we can pay people completely within a day or so, even less. So this, in order for us to continue as an organization, I want to make sure we have, it's not a straightforward process doing this. And every time I go in there, I've got to remember what buttons to press. So it's important that we have a procedure so people coming after me in this role will be able to pick this up fairly flawlessly. Next slide. So here's the financial summary for our organization. This is up to December 1st, 2020. Revenues, you can see we revisited the budget around mid-year and certainly changed our forecasts and outlooks for the budget based on our experiences with the COVID vaccine. So you can see that our membership, we did meet our membership objective financially. We received no revenue for the conference. Webinars have increased. These are webinar revenue from people who are not part of our organization. So you can see our budget and where we are financially, but you can also see the comparison to where it was in 2019. On the expense side, our major expense continues to be the management of our organization by Willow, and they certainly are doing a great job. But it is a financial burden that we assume. Our national conference, we had some sunken costs on our national conference, about $5,400, basically on Willow support. Webinars did bring in a bit more money, or did cost us a bit more money. We rejigged the budget, as you can see, and we were a bit over on that. But having said that, we had put aside more money for the website, and we didn't spend quite as much. So all being all, to December 1st, we're pretty much on target for the budget. I think by the end of December, we'll maybe be slightly over, but certainly within about 3 to 4% of our target. And that again compares to where we were in 2019. You can see our revenues and our expenses sort of been higher in those categories. But you can also note that in both 2020 year to date and 2019, our expenses have been a little greater than our revenues. So it's incumbent on all of us to keep our organization healthy, to try to attract new membership and sponsors and move our organization forward. Next slide. I'm going to briefly talk just financially on the chapters. I will leave it up to the individual chapters to discuss their organizations and their activities. But you can see that, you know, both are in healthy situations, and even with the response to COVID, we were able to uptake. And I think Yvonne and the Montreal chapter certainly were able to adapt the Zoom conference vehicle, online virtual conference, and it seems to go forward. And I'm sure Toronto will pick that up in the new year. Next slide. So I will entertain any questions if anybody has any. And if there are no questions, I move that the 2020 financial record and the financial report for Sustainable Labs Canada be accepted.
Mike, it's Ian. I do have one question. Thank you very much for that. overall report. For 2019-2020, we're showing that slight difference in revenue and expense. What's the current status? I know there was a reserve that was available. What is the current status of that reserve? If we've obviously eaten into that a bit.
Yes, well, right now, I didn't present that, but our bank account is sitting around 82,000. And we have about a $7,000 credit with Willow. So
okay, and do we have any outstanding credits or debits with anybody else?
Well, the outstanding credits would be with the different chapters, because that we maintain one bank account for the organization, the national organization, and the two chapters. So that includes their revenue, which is about $6,000 combined.
Okay, thank you. So nice and healthy still.
Nice and healthy. I mean, we sustained the year. It was a rough year, but we were diligent and we were able to get through it. If I have any concern, and I know we'll talk about this coming up, is making sure that we can maintain the membership going into 2021. It's important that we keep our membership active. It's important that we provide alternative benefits to being in our organization. And this is a challenge to all of us. And we're working hard at trying to come up with different ways of presenting our agendas. John, are we entertaining any other questions?
Mike, none have come through.
Okay, hearing no more questions, Kevin, I'll turn it back to you.
So has the motion been adopted then? Do we have enough? Maybe we should just do it one more time just to be clear between the question period and the voting period. So I'd like to move that the 2020 financial records and financial report for Sustainable Labs Canada be accepted, and we'll be taking objections, vote by objection in the question box, please. John, anything come up?
No objections.
Motion carried. Advance, please. Membership and communications, Yvonne Lachance.
Thank you. We'll please move to next slide. The committee membership is, well, apart from myself, Mr. Jim Delaney, John Alberico, who's nicely dressed today because Christmas is coming, and Mr. Kevin Shelast from Aqua Air. Next slide, please. The membership and the communication committee is responsible for the membership and communication strategies of Sustainable Labs Canada. Provide advice to the board with respect to engaging existing and new members while keeping members informed about SLCan activities, membership benefits, current information related to sustainable laboratories. Next slide, please. I'd say that this year has not had we did not have time to meet before the pandemic hit, and once it did, we had to deal with other tasks. So the committee has not been very active this year. Usually, once we reach March, we are starting, calls, direct calls or direct emails to the members that have not yet renewed. And because we did not really see, or it was really tough seeing what was coming back in March, we only reached a total number of 161 members this year, and that's a big difference between this year and the previous year. We were at 215 end of last year, so there's a decrease of about 50 people, 54 difference. It might sound a little number to some, but as you've seen with the finance committee report, membership is really the base of what the association needs for its activities. So far, we have 61 people that already have renewed for 2021. I'd say that this is the first year I've seen that many people renew prior to the end of the year. So that's a good sign. Hopefully, we'll reach at least the 160 that we had this year, but for sure, the objective of the association is to bring in more people. It's important to have more people, not only for the money part, but for the purpose and the, the significance of our activities. Um, you might have noticed in your renewal form that we have set up categories of members. So, for instance, for myself, I checked mark consultant or architect, if I remember correctly. So our goal is here to set up a list of members on the website. That is an advantage for members that if someone in Canada is looking for someone in the lab field that is concerned or I'd say in sustainability, and they're looking for a vendor or a manufacturer or a consultant, well, they'll have access to our website and they'll see a list of the people there that are members, and they can, you know, maybe contact the association. Well, I'd like to reach Kevin Belusa. This guy seems a nice guy. So, and they'll ask for his contact information, and they contact Kevin and say, "What are you doing?" And that's an advantage for members. So it will hopefully make our members think that there's a value there for them. And let's see what happens with that. Next slide, please. The first item on that list is a repeat from last year. A new chair is needed for the committee this year and next year. Myself being a president, it's unlikely I will have enough time for to take care properly of this committee. So hopefully, with the wonderful, very full board we have, someone's gonna step up and take over the chair position of this committee. I'll be there to help for sure. The membership committee, more than ever, is key to the association's well-being, as membership fees are our main source of income when we don't have a conference. We estimate that a minimum of 160 members is required to help maintain the association's pertinence and good financial health. As I mentioned, it's not only the money, it's the pertinence of the association. I invite again each and every member to talk about the association, what we do, our webinars, our activities. We'll talk maybe more later once we've done all the reports about other stuff that we're doing. And bring more people to the association. It's not that costly, and as you've seen, there's tons of people of good faith, and it's a great place to meet and greet and exchange on our field. The committee will need to reach out in person over the phone to our actual members that have not renewed. So emails are just getting lost in the pile. That's one thing I mentioned earlier. We usually pick up the phone. People on the committee pick up the phone, call people, and you know, everybody gets tons of emails. Oh, I've not seen it. Can you send it back to me? And all of a sudden, we have a member that's renewed. So that's one important activity of the committee. And I would again thank all members that were present not only this year but the year before. When we reached 215, it was due to the membership committee great effort. We shall also reach out to people that were members in the last 5 years and that did not renew along the way. I think there's a potential for us to maybe bring back some people that for whatever reason have dropped from in the time. The communication part of the MCC is always the part that's a bit left behind because of that work we do with the membership and the importance it takes. But in parallel, we've started another group, a think tank of on communication and on social media. And I would put to the next board the idea of splitting that committee into, because these are two different activities. And if we want to improve our communication skills and our reaction time, I think we should have people that are really focused on that, and have the membership committee focus on their side on bringing in not only keeping up with the members, but bringing new members, making sure that there's value created for the members, and bringing the members' point of view to the board discussion. And move to the next slide, please. Well, that's something that we started a couple of years ago, the Champion Initiative. We'd like to have people around the country that are not necessarily, on a monthly basis on the call for the MCC, but that are those people that become a beacon of the association in their region. We have chapters now in Montreal and Toronto, and we see the great energy that comes out of having a chapter, but not every city might be able to have one. We have some discussions with people in Vancouver ongoing. The COVID did not help. If we would have had the conference there, it would certainly have been the moment where we could have announced a new chapter in Vancouver. But unfortunately, because of the COVID and all other things we did, it was not possible. But even though you think you cannot reach to enough people to have a chapter in your area, there's still a part of the country where there could be someone that's a reference point for our association. So if that's something that talks to you, that you feel like you can help us on that, to us through the info@slcan.ca email address. Next slide, please. And that's it for me. I have nothing up for vote, so I guess we can move to our next presenter, Mr. President, actual president, till December 31st. That's a word. That's a 2020 phrase. I think you're on mute.
Is it okay if you hear me
Sorry,
now?
guys. It wasn't the first time
Yeah,
that's
no.
happened to me. I just wanted to thank all the membership for coming through today to meet with us on this AGM and help us pass these motions. And just to add to what Yvonne has said, the major source of revenue for the association that allows us to continue our operation historically has been the conference. And this year, without our ability to have one, the membership is of critical nature. So I'd like to thank you all for being members, but also to ask that if you see value in the work that we've done, that you just send an email or make a comment to someone else you think might see value in it as well. We can't grow without you. We're looking to do more and more to help you. We just need to know what it is and need more people on board. So thank you from the board. And with that, I'd like to pass off the baton again to Kevin Humanek from the Professional Development Committee report.
Thanks, Kevin. So next slide, please. I'll start with the committee membership. We have quite a robust membership of the Professional Development Committee. So I just want to thank all of the members that you see here. We've got quite a group of us together now, and we were joined last year by Tyler Holmberg. And I wanted to note that moving forward, Tyler will be taking over the chair position for the Professional Development Committee. So I just wanted to thank Tyler for stepping up to the plate on that one. The chair position is kind of transitioning over to Tyler in the new year. And I'll be there to continue on the committee to help support him. So I've had the better part of, I think, 3 years as the chair, if not maybe 4. So it's time for a new chair to take over and to kind of inject new energy into the group. But certainly we've got a fully functioning, robust team. Next slide. This is quite a lot of information, but it's transposed from our mandate as the Professional Development Committee. Ultimately, we're responsible for the professional development and the fundraising and sponsorship for SLCan. And our goal is to provide value for membership, and that's what we've been talking about over the course of the presentation today in the AGM. So the cornerstone of that is our website and our ongoing webinar series. So we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go forward. The mandate at the bottom, I think we can kind of summarize that we're responsible for creating a directory of sustainable resources, which is located on our website. And we're also identifying and coordinating webinars and additional educational opportunities. And the PDC is also responsible for identifying and establishing partners in sustainability beyond the association itself. Next slide. So key to that, as I mentioned, is webinar access, including past webinars. So folks who have continuing education requirements, or if they have very busy schedules and they're not able to attend a live webinar, we provide recordings of those webinars so that people can access them. As long as you're a member of SLCan, you have access to, I think, the last 5 years, 4 to 5 years of past webinars. And that's really critical because we're building up a resource of knowledge, which is a key core benefit to membership. If you're not a membership of SLCan, you don't have access to our past webinars, and you don't have access to all of the knowledge that's transposed in those. We also have reference documents online, which are very helpful and are found on the website. And we maintain community networking connections, as well as support the conference and workshop by allowing for reduced registration fees. And we also often, the PDC, as we approach a yearly conference, oftentimes the PDC steps in to help the conference committee each year in preparing for the conference, because there's a lot of synergy between the conference and what goes into the conference and what the PDC does on a monthly basis. Just another note that we had 10 meetings this year. Typically we try to meet every 4 weeks. Next slide. So yeah, we do strive towards a monthly session. This year we managed to meet 10 times, and here you can see, some of the topics that are raised during our committee activities. It's not just focused on the webinars, but we try to maintain the reference documents online, a blog which is, let's call it not well traveled, but is available online. Frequently asked questions, glossaries, online forums, as well as the LinkedIn and Facebook page are kind of within the purview of the PDC. We also have lists of online training resources that are outside of SLCan, but that we recommend to members as basically an online university for people wanting to learn more about sustainable labs, lab planning, energy efficient systems, and so on. And a library of online documents, as well as links to outsourced files and information. Next slide. Look ahead. Call for abstracts for the 2021 webinar series is currently open. We had it closed earlier this month, but we reopened it, I think, for an extra week, and we're certainly set for the roster for the next year. We have established 10 webinars already for 2021. So we will be posting that roster and the presentation topics and the presenters for 2021 on the website later this month. And we want to thank RWDI for stepping up. I believe it's John Booth, who is going to be speaking on the 13th of January as the first webinar for 2021. So we just want to thank RWDI for their submissions of abstracts and also for being our first presenters of 2021. So we're very happy with the response to the call for abstracts, but there are 2 slots still open for 2021. So if anybody's on the line here and would like to submit an abstract or would like to recommend somebody to submit an abstract, we'd certainly encourage them to do that. We'd like to start the year with the full year booked, and there are 2 slots left open for November and December of 2021. Moving forward, we also want to collaborate on the development of Canadian benchmarking tool, which was an initiative from last year that I think because of COVID and the lack of a conference this year, we weren't able to fully pull through on, but we've been looking at a grassroots movement to develop a distinctly Canadian benchmarking tool that would align with the benchmarking tool that I2SL has established in the US, but with specific reference to Canadian data, including climate ranges and Canadian lab information. So that's a key initiative moving forward that we don't want to lose track of. And beyond that, we always strive to maintain further development of online resources, our library, and our online training links. So just wanted to re-emphasize that, as well as our social media presence and blog, which, as Yvonne mentioned, is kind of a cross-committee effort right now, but will likely be synergized with the establishment of a new committee for communications. Before we step off this slide, I just wanted to reinforce that there are several provincial associations of architecture, and I believe several provincial associations of engineering within Canada that have a continuing education deadline at the end of this year. So in less than 2 weeks, all the architects in the whole country, I know, are scrambling to input their core credits and their structured learning credits into their transcripts. So for anybody who's in that panic, SLCan is the right solution, and we would defer them to the membership committee to have them sign up and take advantage of all of those recordings, because they do qualify as core structured learning credits. So if anybody knows an architect or an engineer that is haggard and tired from scrambling to find learning opportunities, we're your one-stop shop. So next slide. And that's it for me, I think. This is over to the SLCan chapter groups. So thank you for your time. I don't think we have any motions actually for PDC,
No.
but if there are any questions, maybe we want to take a pause for any questions. Certainly, people can reach out as well to Tyler and myself. If anybody has any questions offline, we can take those offline as well. Looks like there's no questions. So Kevin, back to you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to pass the baton to Yvonne for the update on the Montreal chapter.
Yes. Well, the Montreal chapter, we have a wonderful group comprised of Pierre-Luc Barry, Magali Tremblay, and we have Jérôme Conro from McGill University, and we have also Denis Antonicella. I screwed up his name, from Preston Phipps, Pierre and Magali from Pajot Morel Engineers in Montreal. And these guys run the Montreal chapter. I'm also part of that group. We held 2 events. The first one, February 26, back in the old days, in person. Bonnes approches dans la planification du nouveau laboratoire. Good best practices in lab planning with Mr. Javier Arguedas from Walner. And then the COVID hit because we planned to have one in June, but it had to be postponed because we were still scrambling to know where we were going. And back in October, early October, we started a virtual chapter meeting. And this one was about certification living building challenge, well, et passive house appliqué à conception de laboratoire au Canada. So living building challenge, well, and passive house certifications applied to lab planning in Canada. And our speaker was Mr. Philippe Saint-Jean from McGill University. So we held 2 events. we're planning to new ones as early as February 3rd. We'll have a new online event, and still looking to organize 3 meetings, minimum of 3 meetings per year. We also planned in 2020, we planned back to have a lab visit, but for obvious reason, we had to cancel that. We were going to visit the new Montreal University science campus, which is a huge new campus on the other side of the mountain here, across the mountain. So yeah, great group. It's fun to have a group in Montreal to keep the people talking about sustainability, about labs. It's great to see people once in a while. So if you plan to have a chapter, contact us. We'll help. Montreal chapter can certainly give a hand to anyone planning to set up a new chapter. Mr. President?
Thank you, Yvon. Toronto chapter had a little less activity this year due to COVID. We canceled all of we had actually a very nice lineup of speakers set up with some very interesting topics. But as a result of the financial implications, the onset and COVID, obviously, the chapter events were all canceled. However, having said that, we're looking to continue in the coming year in the Toronto chapter. Next slide, please.
Oh, Kevin, I just want to comment. We actually did have an event in February.
Oh, yes.
We did. We had one event this year. We just had to cancel the one in May. That was
so long ago, I've forgotten. You're right. Yeah, we did. It's correct. And it was well attended. The membership and the attendance in the Toronto chapter has been increasing literally every single meeting we've had. Been a huge success, but unfortunately with everything COVID, things had to change. So we're going to be looking to continue that great work in the coming year. So 2021 plans and priorities. Yvon, do you want to take this one over, or should I?
Well, the plan, as you've seen, we're still contemplating the idea of having a conference, a very lively conference and filled with great information. Usually our conferences are closer to the end of the year. We're really are going to be, I would say, all our eyes open to see how the vaccine turns out, if there's enough people getting vaccinated, if travel is again authorized. But for sure, as human beings, we're all human beings, and we all discovered that we needed each other this year more than ever. So we're really looking for that. This being said, it's huge expenses. I don't know if you remember the numbers you've seen from Mike's report earlier. It's the close to $200,000 revenues, but also expenses. So there's liabilities to the association to that. So we're gonna come up with a decision the first quarter of the year, I think, or else we will postpone again or organize something online. But for sure, we want to organize something this year. We've seen what the other organizations have done. I don't know if some people on the call have participated in I2SL conference this year or Labs Lab Design conference this year. It's quite different from what we're used to. It's better to be in person. This being said, there's something important in conference for an association. It helps the association, even though it might be the same revenue generating event. It's certainly going to be considered this year. So anyone interested in a conference, no worries. We're thinking about that. There's going to be something. Is it going to be hybrid or in person only, or online only? It's yet to be decided. I don't know if there would be questions on that. Yeah, I see Ian raising his hand.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I just in response to COVID and the vaccine, So I'm sorry I haven't been there, but I've been spending the last number of weeks setting up the Toronto Vaccine Center, which we have successfully completed, or by the end of today, we'll have successfully completed the first 1,500 vaccines in the Toronto area.
Amazing.
And so, thank you. And so it's pretty crazy, but it is a reality and it is moving forward, which is fantastic. The reality in terms of how many vaccine doses we're going to get and how quickly we can roll it out, that's still something that's very much up in the air. And I think that you're probably not going to have a realistic understanding of what that looks like until probably closer to April, as we are sort of able to roll that out even further. That's kind of the conversation that's certainly happening in the close circle that I'm participating in. And so people are talking about sort of summer, early fall as sort of being sort of, if you will, when we get it out to the much broader community. So if people are thinking about a conference later in the year, is a more likelihood of being successful and being able to have that, but I don't think you'll really know until probably end of March, early April, depending on that whole vaccine production, and not just the production, but the rollout internationally on what's there. But it is going and it is moving, and we're not stopping through the holidays, so it will continue through the holidays.
Okay, well, that's great points. And March, early, before we can have let's say, do a first assessment of how things are rolling out and how things are going and where we'll be at. Of just if we start planning or talk with conference centers or things like that, there's going to be new clauses to be added to their contract that if we can't have it, we need refunds on our there's going to be a need for those people to kind of understand
Some risk.
that we will need more time for confirmation and things like that. So, but thanks, Ian. Yeah, maybe we'll reach out to you once in a while to see how things are going, because you're deep in there and you're 2 hands in there, and I know you're going to be of great help to the association that you presided only 2 years ago. So, and maybe John.
Yvonne, just to interrupt, sorry, we're running short on time. We got 11:50 right now. We got 10 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, well, I was going to ask John if there were many slides left to the deck. Do you know?
No.
We're at other business.
Hi, Sarah.
Okay, well, okay, so it's time for me to take over, because we need to do something important now. On behalf of the whole board, I would like to thank Kevin Belusa for the last 2 years of him being our president, and he's been there since the first years of this association. He's still there, in fact. We've hooked him with the immediate past president title as soon as he tried to leave the room. But seriously, Kevin has been so energetic. He brought new ideas. He challenged everyone on the board. Honestly, it's been an amazing 2 years watching you and being part of this group under your governance. So please, everybody online, join me in a virtual round of applause for my friend, Kevin Belusa.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you all. And after that embarrassing moment, I'd like to turn over the floor to any other business from any of our membership.
We were talking also, we were thinking also of having a little chat about the pandemic response initiative we're running, Kevin.
Sure.
Can you entertain us a bit on that?
Please, proceed.
Okay, we have set up, we had sent to the whole membership a call for interest for this group. We have a group actually working on the pandemic response, and I'm using pandemic response for obvious reason. It started as a COVID response. It's all volunteer work. What we're doing, what the people you see on the screen are doing. So it goes with the time constraints that are not those of the industry. The rollout would not be as quick or as fast. But for sure, we know that other events are going to come in the future. And so as an association, we thought that we had a say. We had something to say on that. And we have set up a group with subcommittees, with chairs that I would like to name. Well, we have Peggy Theodore, we have Liam, we have Marion, and we have, oh gosh, can you help me, guys? Karen.
Kristen Kerrigan.
Kristen Kerrigan. Yeah, that are our co-chairs on that group, and we're planning to have something. Well, I'll call it completed, but you know how things go. Mostly well advanced end of January, early February. So please look at your emails from our association. You'll get something here about that. And if people are still interested in participating, there's always it's always good to have helping hands. Anyway, we'll need reviewers. So don't hesitate. Send us an email, info@slcan.ca, and don't hesitate. We're coming up with something very interesting. We're partnering with I2SL on that somehow. But it's mostly sustainable. Let's put it this way: it's mostly sustainable lab. It's mostly the Canadians that have step up to the plate, and we're also in contact with the ASHRAE pandemic response, the pandemic task force lab subcommittee on the ventilation aspects of labs to make sure that we're in line with their work. So it's a pretty amazing thing that will come out. If someone needs a hint on why would you be member of such an association, well, for such initiatives and such great response from our membership. Thank you for everyone that participates into that endeavor, and let's talk about that more early next year.
Yeah, and just to add to what Yvon has said, if you're not aware yet, TC 910 through ASHRAE, or Technical Committee 910, which is responsible for the guidance surrounding laboratories, has just released a COVID preparedness, a COVID-related document. It was published about 2-3 weeks ago, Yvon. That's about right.
About right, yeah.
Yeah, and the committee is now currently working on frequently asked questions, which we're expecting to be out in the early new year. So you can get all that information on the ASHRAE website. And the intent of the Sustainable Labs Canada initiative with ASHRAE is to provide a basically uniform guidance across North America as it relates to critical facilities. So good resources are out there, just need to go find them. If you have any questions on that, let myself or someone on the board know, and we'll be happy to connect you into the right locations. Is there anything else? Any other business?
That's on my side.
Okay, next slide, please. So I'd like to adjourn for the day. It's 11:57 a.m. Eastern Standard. Thank you everybody for joining with us today and hearing the motions and voting. And just like to thank you once again for all the work, guys, and for all our members for coming to the table and helping this thing survive and grow. Thank you very much. Have a great, merry holiday season.